Good morning, Altop Crusaders. My name is Morgan Wills.
And my name is Thomas Nickel.
Today we'll be talking about clubs, sports, current events, and we'll be having a discussion on co-ed sports and a little bit more things.
That sounds great. But first, let's head to Tyler to hear about some current events. Tyler, on to you.
Thanks, guys. To start things off, I'm going to talk about the weather. As the Midwest and Northeast have been slammed with another winter storm, dropping 3 to 4 inches of snow on top of that freezing rain. Also, President Trump's idea for the border wall was shut down by Congress, so he's declared a national state of emergency so that he can use national security funds to help fund the wall. However, this is going to bring on lots of lawsuits as Congress is going to fight him, saying he is using too much of his power to try to control the state. Also, he has worked on progress for his nuclear summit with Korean dictator Kim Jong-un in peace talks and lowering their nuclear program to move down. Also, Bernie Sanders has declared that he will be running for president once again in 2020, as for he ran again in 2016 and lost short to Hillary Clinton. Also, the Blues have won their 11th game straight, giving them the longest franchise record for most wins in a row. Back to you guys.
Should there be co-ed sports? Well, here in the studio we have students Elliot Hoffman and Lucas Aldred to answer that question.
Elliot and Lucas, on to you.
Hi, my name is Elliot Hoffman, and this is
Lucas Aldred, and this is this week's editorial. Today, we are arguing on the fact of co-ed sports and whether or not they should be allowed.
I don't think that co-ed sports should be allowed in all cases. For some younger level sports and some very older level sports. So for example, 30 to 40-year-old slow pitch softball, I think that's good. And I played against a co-ed soccer team when I was in fifth grade for my school.
Yeah, I feel like when athletes are in their prime, that they shouldn't be able to play co-ed sports because there's an obvious what's the word I'm looking for? There's an obvious gap between the two genders. With no offense mean, but there's still when they're younger, it's gonna give social interaction between the two genders. It's also going to open up their mindset and see how do I compete against a girl or how do I compete against a guy, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think what you just said makes total sense, but I'm still afraid that if you were in the NFL and you had a 150-pound girl wide receiver and then you had a 250-pound defenseman, that woman would get completely mauled down.
Oh well, yeah, I agree. It's a lineman. He's not gonna be able to do much against. She's not gonna be able to do much against him. Yeah. But when they're younger, when they're in grade school or even up, maybe even to 6th grade, that maybe when a girl's when you see a girl on another team, you don't really want to mess up. So you're gonna want to play your best, and it'll bring the best out of you, so yeah, that's how I think about it. Also, to add on to the fact that for co-ed leagues are often cheaper than regular leagues, clocking at about $300 less than the average league. There are also fewer injuries in co-ed because of the gender gap and all of that.
There's a few problems with them being cheaper. I think you're playing in a less competitive league. It's harder to find these co-ed leagues that you talk about being so cheap. I don't know where co-ed sports are a thing. I haven't seen them.
Well, I'm not talking about upper middle school to high school. I'm not talking about those type of co-ed leagues. I'm talking about younger kids, grade school kids. Those leagues are going to be generally more cheaper.
Well, even
just because of the competition is going to be less. If you're playing in a co-ed league, you're not going to want to play in it for competition. If you're going to play for competition, you're going to play for
select.
You're going to play for your select team. You're going to play for your legacy. You're going to play for your Scott Gallagher.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if you're playing for competition-wise, then I think you go to the higher level that's not co-ed because you're going to get better competition. But if you're just looking to go out there and play your your fun game of soccer, then I think yes, you should go co-ed.
Yeah. All right, this is this week's editorial. I'm Lucas Harrod, and this is Elliot Hoffman. And back to you, Morgan.
These are some interesting opinions that in no way reflects the views of Althoff Catholic.
Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below.
Next up is lunch. We're going to head down onto the cafeteria and hear some more from Greg.
Thanks, guys. For lunch this week, we got some top-notch choices. On Monday, we got a chili cheese dog with tater tots. Tuesday, chicken parmesan with spaghetti and buttery green beans. Wednesday, we got the hot tot wrap, barbecue black beans. Last but not least, on Thursday, we got Papa John's pizza with french fries. Back to y'all in the studio.
Wow, those look like some yummy options for lunch this week.
What are you going to have?
I'm probably going to have those chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets?
Yes, chicken nuggets.
Okay. Well, we're going to hand it off to Jet to get an inside scoop from our student of the week. Jet, on to you.
This week's student of the week, Joseph Lucanas. Joseph, do you know why you won student of the week this week?
I'm really not sure, but I always try to be my best self.
When you win student of the week, you win a Tavern and Main gift certificate and a parking spot in front of the school. Will you use either of these?
I personally don't have my own car, so I might not use the parking spot, but I will definitely be using the Tavern on Main gift card.
Have you ever won before, or is this your first time?
I did. Freshman year, I actually got it.
So when you heard you were student of the week, was this a total surprise to you, or did you kind of see it coming?
It was a surprise. Yeah, I never expect anything like this, so I really appreciate it.
And for any kids in the future who want to win student of the week, do you have any advice for them?
Just try to be you, try to be your best self.
Thanks, Jet. We have some amazing teachers here at Althoff Catholic.
Nick Alberico is going to interview Coach Frazier, who is a part of the English department. Nick, on to you.
Thanks, guys. Now for this week's teacher interview, I'll be interviewing Coach Frazier. What do you want to be teaching?
I think a part of me always wanted to be my mom was a teacher, and I've always been involved in athletics, and I had a really good English teacher when I was here, actually at Althoff in high school. Miss Barb Goodell, I had Miss Schumacher too, but Miss Goodell, kind of maybe influenced me to, really enjoy English literature and everything about it. And that interest just grew in high school and college, and next thing I knew, I was following in her footsteps.
How long have you been teaching?
5 years. This is my 5th year, all at Althoff.
Why did you want to teach for Althoff?
Principal Harris approached me as I was doing my student teaching, and the fit made sense because I was already coaching football here. Like I said, I've been a part of the Althoff family for a long time, so it was a pretty natural fit, and I couldn't. I'm happier. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
What do you teach at Althoff?
I teach English literature to all of our freshman levels, honors, accelerated, and advanced, and I teach accelerated seniors English as well. And I have elective current affairs that's technically in the social studies department, but it works.
What's your favorite part of Althoff?
Favorite part of Althoff? I've been asked this question recently, so it's the family, right? It's the extended family, the community that you join, when you're here, because it's you don't join a school, and it's not that's not even maybe our most important part about being a Crusader, being a part of Althoff. It's about the community and the family that you develop over your time here, and then it lasts a lifetime.
What's your least favorite part of Althoff?
My least favorite part of Althoff. Grading papers. Grading papers is my least favorite part of being at Althoff.
How do you think the kids treat each other?
I think we're lucky to have, environment that is so firmly, tries to advocate for, a faith system that, pursues, the great treatment for everybody. So, I know our students treat everybody good. I'm not saying that you guys are angels, because you're not. But, at the end of the day, I think most of you care about the well-being of each other, and that's maybe not the same everywhere else.
You think there's bullying going on at Althoff?
You know what? I hope not. And I'd like to think, and I'm pretty sure that if any of you guys saw bullying going on, you would advocate for, that person. So do I think it's going on? I don't think so, but if it was, I would expect that you guys would take care of that without even us having to get involved.
That was a great interview with Coach Fraze. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Many sports and activities are happening here at Althoff. We're going to head over to Mary to hear more about it.
Mary, on to you.
Hi everybody, my name is Mary Nestor, and let's jump into some sports. So first up, we have an update from the last broadcast. The Althoff Catholic dance team recently went to state and placed second in their pom dance. So congratulations to the dance. Unfortunately, the girls basketball team is out for the rest of the season as they took a tough loss to Nashville in the sectional final, losing 40-49. But before the sectional final, the semifinal against Hamilton County, they won 62-67. An update on boys basketball, Althoff has had a rough few games, losing to Chaminade 84-76 on the 12th, losing to Mount Vernon, a previous win, 73-66 on the 15th, losing Dalton Bergner with a sprained ankle. And then last night against Granite City, we took a win on our girls' cheer senior night, 60-49. This game will be Columbia at Columbia, and then after that will be the start of playoffs. After qualifying 7 wrestlers for state, the tournament at Champaign on the 16th, we ended up with 5 wrestlers placing at state. Max Kristoff won in his division, Anthony Federico placed 2nd, Sean Minnick placed 4th, Matthew Minnick placed 5th, and Joseph Braunagel placed 6th. And that's all from sports. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Mary.
Next, we will be going to Boyd to hear from Mr. Keeley, who is the leader of the film club.
Boyd, on to you.
So for the film club, what does this club generally do?
In film club, we will select films to screen for the Althoff community. Anyone is invited who wants to show up. It's after school a lot of the times. We do Fridays, sometimes Mondays, Tuesdays. Students can bring in their own snacks, and we'll watch a film. Typically, we try to pick something that is not extremely popular or not something that you think a lot of people would have seen, so that we can expose students to something new, right? To something from the past or from a different genre. And after we do the screening, we then stick around and talk about our reactions to it, or we talk about certain cinematic techniques, things like that.
So it's not like movies that are relevant, like newer movies that come out on DVD, it's just like old ones that haven't been necessarily popular?
Not exclusively, we try to vary it. The first film we did this year was 2001: A Space Odyssey, from like 50 years ago. And that's one that's a classic, but not a lot of people have seen, and it's not one that's necessarily popular to high school students. And so it went over with, a lot of people were like, wow, that was weird, I'm glad I watched it, but it was, parts were boring, parts were strange. Other times we have done something that is more recent. One time last year we did Fantastic Mr. Fox. So we kind of change it up to try to appeal to different groups of students.
Do other schools participate in this club, or is it just Althoff?
For the club here, it's just Althoff. We don't have anyone from other schools coming in, but I know that a lot of other schools have clubs like this.
Yeah. So. In the meetings, do you guys talk about the film, or like what stuff do you kind of go over?
Yeah, so sometimes in the morning meetings, what we'll do then is we take suggestions from members, anyone who attends, about a movie that they'd like to watch. Either it's a movie that they love, that they want to sort of share with the rest of us, or it's something that they wanted to see. And then we typically do a vote, watch the film after school that day, and we do afterward talk about, a lot of times people have a really strong reaction. They'll say, wait a second, what was going on with that ending, or something like that. Other times, because I teach film also, I'll bring in bits of trivia, or I'll point stuff out to them that they might not have noticed on the first time through.
So it's like a group effort to pick the movie, like...
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Keeley.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Boyd. Alright, so I'm going to head on down to C1 Lunch and do a Crusader Q&A. Thomas, I'll be back.
Alright, see ya. Well, let's go see that Q&A.
Greenwood.
None.
You good? You straight?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Alright, so I'm gonna ask you one question. Just give me the first answer that comes to mind, okay?
Alright.
Alright, so, what does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYS spell?
Eyes.
Okay, alright, one more. If animals can talk, which one would be the nicest?
Panda.
Why?
Because they look nice. They cute.
So a panda would be nice, the nice one?
Yeah.
Alright, thanks, Greenman.
Alright, thank you.
Alright, so I'm here today with Cam Rogers, campaign. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you some random questions. Is that okay? Alright, are you named after someone? Do you like your handwriting?
No.
Let's see. Do you untie your shoes when you take the Okay, last thing you ate. Okay. Favorite sport to watch? Favorite smell? When was the last time you cried? Alright, thanks, Gabby. What's up, Thomas? I'm back.
Hi, Morgan. That was a great Q&A you had.
Thank you. Alright, so next up is Virtue of the Week. The Virtue of the Week is trust. We're going to head it on over to Darius, aka D-Walk.
Thanks, Morgan. Today on CBN, I will be interviewing Adrian Guys, who is a junior here at Althoff Catholic. Adrian, how are you doing today?
I'm good today.
Adrian, the virtue of the week is trust. Can you tell me what trust means to you?
Trust to me means being able to rely on someone with what's important to you.
Okay. Do you believe that you are known to put your trust in people?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me why?
Because I feel like the people that I surround myself with are trustworthy.
What are some of the pros and cons when it comes to trust?
A pro to trust is being able to know that you can go to who's ever important to you with what you feel is confidential.
Who do you trust the most in your life?
I trust my family and friends the most in my life because they're the first people that I know that I can go to.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Darius.
Let's head on to John and Jack to hear more about some upcoming events.
John Jack, on to you.
Thanks, guys. The Althoff Band will be performing their Pops concert this Sunday. It'll take place in Heritage Hall at 3:30. Come out and support the band. The band will then also be taking their Pops concert music and be playing it for the local grade schools. This will take place on Monday and Tuesday after the Pops concert. In other news, the Queen of Hearts will be taking place at the 4204 Banquet Center. The Queen of Hearts drawing will be taking place at the 4204 Banquet Center. The ticket sales will end at 6:45 and the drawing will begin at 7 o'clock. Please come support Althoff.
On to Drew to hear more about the gala.
Drew, on to you.
Okay, so I'm here with Ms. Miller, who's in charge of the gala here at Althoff Catholic. So, Ms. Miller, how many students like me don't fully understand what the gala is? Can you please explain to that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The gala is an event that allows members of the Althoff community to come together for an evening of camaraderie and fellowship. It starts, it's held at the 4 Points by Sheraton, not in Fairview Heights, if you know where that is. It's kind of a dressy event. Starts with cocktail hour. That goes from 6 to 7 when people have a cocktail and then they socialize. Then we go into the banquet room and there's a very nice plated meal. After that, there's a brief program. Usually a member of the administration talks about a topic something going on here at Althoff. And then we have what we call a live auction. So David Schumacher, Mrs. Schumacher's husband, auctions off 10 to 12 live auction items. And then when that's over, we have a band called Encore, and they come and play music, so there's music and dancing to conclude the evening.
Okay, my next question is, how long has Althoff been doing the gala?
Well, our first gala was back in 2016, so this year's gala will be our 4th annual gala. Prior to that, the Mothers Club hosted an auction here at school. I think they did that for like 33 years. Used to be in the gym and down in the cafeteria. Those auctions raised probably around $3 million over the over the 33 years that they were done.
And how many people normally come to this event?
The gala ranges between 300 and 400 guests.
Okay. So how does the Althoff, like with the money, how is it used to?
How do we make the money
Yes.
at the gala? Well, there's several components that go into that. First, people have to pay for their tickets, okay, so that's one revenue stream. Then we have raffle, large cash raffle, that's another. We have little raffles, we have, we're gonna do a wine pool this year, we hope. And then we also do that Fund a Need that we'll talk about, and the Spark online auction, that also gets wrapped into the revenue stream from the gala.
So I was curious about, as other people who were talking to me, can you explain what Fund a Need is?
Sure. Fund a Need is a specific project that the administration identifies. And what we do at the gala is Mr. Schumacher, the auctioneer, will ask people to raise their bid number, so everybody has a number, and make donations to benefit a specific project. So last year's project was to benefit the music department, and Mr. Hayden was able to buy some large musical instruments that he might not otherwise have been able to afford. And you remember then the marching band got uniforms. So that was funded by people's donations through the Fund a Need project. This year's Fund a Need, what we've decided to do is we're going to try to replace all the classroom doors with more current doors that feature the latest in fire and intruder protections. So that's this year's Fund a Need project.
Okay, and this is Ms. Miller about the gala, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, everyone, that wraps up our broadcast for today.
Let us know below what you would like to hear more about.
And also, make sure you follow us on our social media.
Our Instagram is Althoff Catholic.
Our Twitter is Althoff Catholic.
Our Facebook is Althoff Catholic.
Thank you, students, staff, teachers, and alums for tuning in. We will see you all next week on
CBN.
Hey.